The morning sun cast long shadows across the Nebraska prairie as Samuel Sam Mitchell stepped out of his weathered cabin. The 42-year-old rancher had seen better days. His cattle herd had dwindled to barely a dozen head, and the harsh winter of 1876 had taken its toll. His coffee was mostly chicory now. His bacon had run out a week ago, and his last sack of flour was running dangerously low. As he walked toward the creek that ran through his property, something unusual caught his eye. A dark shape huddled against the base of an old cottonwood tree. At first, Sam thought it might be a wounded animal, but as he drew closer, his heart skipped a beat. It was a woman, a young Native American woman cradling something against her chest. "Ma'am," Sam called out softly, "are you all right?" The woman's eyes snapped open, dark and filled with fear. She pressed whatever she was holding closer to her chest. A baby, Sam realized, and tried to scramble backward. Her long black hair was matted with frost, and her buckskin dress was torn and stained with blood. "Easy now," Sam said, raising his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you. My name's Sam Mitchell. This is my land, but you're welcome to it." The woman's eyes darted around desperately. Sam could see she was Lakota, and he understood her fear. The tensions between settlers and tribes had been escalating for years, especially after the Battle of Little Bighorn just months ago. The baby in her arms began to cry, a weak, hungry sound that cut through the morning air. Sam's heart clenched. He slowly reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a piece of hardtack, breaking it in half and extending one piece toward her. "Here," he said simply, "for you." The woman stared at the offered food, her internal struggle visible. Finally, desperation won over caution. She reached out with a trembling hand and took the hardtack, immediately beginning to gnaw on it with obvious hunger. "There's more at my cabin," Sam said, gesturing toward the small structure. "Not much, but it's warm and there's a bed. You and your baby need shelter." The woman shook her head vigorously, but when she tried to stand, her legs gave out. The baby's cries grew stronger, more urgent. "Please," Sam said, crouching to her level. "I understand your fear, but I'm not your enemy. I'm just a man who can't stand by and watch a mother and child suffer." He pointed to himself. "Sam," then to her questioningly. After a moment's hesitation, she whispered, "Ayanna. Ayanna, that's beautiful. And your baby." She looked down at the infant with love. Chayton. Chayton, a strong name. Sam could see the baby was indeed a boy, perhaps only days old. "Ayanna, Chayton needs warmth and food. You need rest. Trust in the idea that sometimes people can choose to help each other." The wind picked up and both shivered. The baby's cries became more pitiful, and Sam saw Ayanna's resolve crumbling. She was a mother first. "Okay," she whispered. Sam helped her to her feet, supporting her weight as they walked to his cabin. She was bleeding. Dark stains on her dress showed she'd recently given birth and was still recovering. The cabin was humble but clean. A single room with a stone fireplace, a bed, a small table and shelves with his meager possessions. Sam led Ayanna to the bed and quickly built up the fire, putting water on to boil. "You're going to be all right," Sam said softly. "Both of you, I promise." As he prepared a thin broth from his last beef bones, Sam stole glances at his guests. Ayanna was young, probably 20, with high cheekbones and intelligent eyes. Despite her exhaustion, there was a strength about her that he admired. Chayton had settled now that he was warm, a beautiful baby with his mother's dark eyes and black hair. "It's ready," Sam announced, offering her the broth in his better tin cup. He served himself a smaller portion, though his stomach growled. Ayanna accepted the cup with trembling hands, taking a tentative sip, then another. Her eyes closed in relief. "Thank you," she whispered in English. "You speak English well," Sam observed. "My father taught me. He said important to understand." She struggled with some words, but her meaning was clear. "Your father sounds wise. What happened to him?" Ayanna's face darkened. "Soldiers came 3 moons ago, said we must go to reservation. Father said no, our land, our home, there was fighting. Father did not come back." Sam felt the familiar knot in his stomach. He'd heard these stories before. "I'm sorry. He sounds like he was a man of principle. He was good man. He said white men and Lakota can live in peace, said land is big enough for all." She paused. "Some people do not want peace. What about Chayton's father?" Ayanna's expression hardened. "He was not good man. He took me from my father's lodge. When soldiers came, he ran. Left me alone. She looked at her baby tenderly. But Chaitan is good. He is not his father. He's beautiful, Sam said honestly, and lucky to have you. For the first time, Ayana smiled, small but genuine. You are a kind man, Sam Mitchell. Why you help us? My mother used to say that kindness is the one thing that costs nothing but means everything, Sam replied. When someone needs help, you help them. Doesn't matter who they are. Your mother was wise, woman. She was. She would have liked you, I think. Would have loved Chaitan. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the fire crackle. Sam found himself studying Ayana's face, noting how her eyes softened when she looked at her baby. Sam, Ayana said eventually, my people will look for me. I figured. Are you afraid of what they'll think? Some of my people do not trust white men. They think all white men are like soldiers, she paused. And some white men think all Indians are savages. But we both know that's not true. Sam nodded. When they come, I want you to tell them you were treated with respect. That you were safe here. Can you do that? Yes, I will tell them Sam Mitchell is good man. I will tell them he saved Chaitan's life. I didn't do anything special. You did. You could have been afraid, could have turned away. But you did not. You gave food when you have little, gave warmth when you could have kept for yourself. This is not common. As afternoon wore on, they shared stories. Sam told her about his life in Missouri, his decision to head west, his struggles on the frontier. Ayana spoke of her life before the soldiers came, her father's trading, her people's traditions, their deep connection to the land. Your people understand the land in ways mine don't, Sam said. We see it as something to be owned. You see it as something to be lived with. Land is not thing to be owned, Ayana agreed. Land is like sky, like wind. It is there for all people, all animals. I wish more people understood that. Maybe then there wouldn't be so much fighting. Fighting comes from fear. When people are afraid, they do not think clearly. But courage is powerful too, Sam said. Today you showed me that kindness isn't weakness. In the distance, barely visible against the darkening sky, shapes moved across the prairie. Their brief time together was coming to an end. The sun hung low on the horizon as Sam and Ayana watched the riders approach. The shapes had grown distinct. 12 mounted warriors moving with deliberate caution across the prairie. How many? Sam asked, his voice calm despite the gravity of the moment. 12, Ayana said, studying them with practiced eyes. They come carefully. They do not know what they will find. Will they listen to you? They will listen. My uncle is among them. I can see his paint horse. His name is Lakota, means friend to everyone. He taught me English, taught me that not all white men are enemies. The riders halted 50 yards from the cabin. The lead rider was older, his grey hair braided and decorated with feathers. His weathered face held intelligence and dignity. That's Lakota, Ayana whispered. The elder called out in Lakota, and Ayana responded, her voice strong. Sam didn't understand the words, but he heard emotion, relief, gratitude, love. The conversation continued for several minutes, with other riders occasionally adding their voices. Finally, Lakota dismounted and walked toward the cabin. He moved with careful grace, hand resting lightly on his knife handle but not gripping it. Sam stepped out to meet him, hands visible and empty. You are Sam Mitchell, Lakota said, his English heavily accented but clear. I am. My niece tells me you saved her life, saved her child's life. I did what anyone should do. I found her near collapse by the creek. She needed help. Lakota's dark eyes studied Sam intently. Not anyone would help. Many of your people see Lakota woman, they think bad things. They turn away or worse. I'm not like those people. No, you are not. But why? Why do you help when others do not? Sam considered his answer carefully. Because she's a human being. Because her baby needed help. Because I was raised to believe that when someone is in need, you help them if you can. Your mother taught you well. And you have nothing? No family, no tribe to protect you? I have no family, no tribe. Just this land, a few cattle, and what food I can grow. You are poor man. I am. And still you shared your food, your shelter, your warmth. Lakota was quiet, his eyes never leaving Sam's face. My niece tells me you could have taken advantage. She was weak, alone, afraid. But you did not. I would never, Sam said, steel in his voice. Not to her, not to anyone. I think you are man of honor. I think the spirits guided my niece to your creek for a reason. He stepped closer. But you are in danger now. From your people, from soldiers, from other white men. Word will spread that you helped Lakota woman. Some will call you traitor. Sam had considered this. I'll deal with that when it comes. You are brave man, but bravery without wisdom is how good men die young. Inside, Chayton began to cry. The sound reminded both men of what was at stake. What happens now? Sam asked. Now my niece comes with us. We take her back to our people, where she belongs. She's welcome to stay as long as she needs. She is recovered enough, and it is safer for her and for you if she comes with us now. Lakota extended his hand in the white man's gesture. You are a good man, Sam Mitchell. If more white men were like you, there would be no need for war. Sam gripped his hand firmly. If more men on both sides were like you, willing to talk before fighting, we might find peace. They walked back to the cabin together. Inside, Ayanna was gathering her belongings, her face showing reluctance despite understanding the necessity. It is time, Lakota said gently. We must go. Ayanna approached Sam, holding Chayton. I do not know how to thank you. Words are not enough. You don't need to thank me. Just take care of yourself and Chayton, that's thanks enough. I will tell my people about you. I will tell them Sam Mitchell is friend to the Lakota. She reached into her bundle and pulled out a beaded bracelet. This was my mother's. I want you to have it. I can't take that. It's too precious. Please, so you remember, so you know that what you did mattered. Sam accepted the bracelet with trembling hands. I'll treasure it, and I will treasure the memory of your kindness. Outside, Lakota helped Ayanna mount behind one of the younger riders, Chayton secure in her arms. Goodbye, Sam Mitchell, Lakota said. May the spirits watch over you. Safe travels. As the riders turned to leave, Ayanna looked back. Remember, you saved us, but maybe we saved you too. Sam watched until they disappeared into the dusk, then returned to his cabin. It felt smaller and emptier, but as he looked at the beaded bracelet, he realized something had changed. The loneliness that had been his constant companion felt different now, not gone, but transformed. He was alone, but no longer isolated. He had been reminded that he was part of something larger. For the first time in months, Sam Mitchell felt at peace. Night had fallen completely, and the Nebraska prairie was bathed in moonlight. Sam sat by his window, turning Ayanna's bracelet over in his hands, thinking about the extraordinary day. The cabin felt different, filled with the memory of warmth that had now departed. He was preparing for bed when he felt it, a presence outside. Moving to the window, he peered into the moonlit landscape. At first he saw only familiar shapes, but as his eyes adjusted, he began to pick out forms that didn't belong. A figure by the old oak tree, another by the creek, a third on the southern rise. Sam's heart began to beat faster, but not with fear, with wonder. As he continued looking, more figures emerged from the shadows, warriors standing in perfect silence, spaced evenly around his cabin. They formed a loose circle around his property, close enough to see their silhouettes, far enough to pose no threat. My God, Sam whispered, understanding dawning. They came back. He counted 20, 30, more emerging as his eyes adjusted. They carried weapons, he could see bows and lances, but their posture wasn't threatening. They stood like sentinels, like guardians. Sam opened his door and stepped outside. The night air was cold, but he barely noticed. Hello? He called softly. The nearest warrior raised his hand in acknowledgement but said nothing. The gesture rippled through the circle, other hands raised in greeting, but the profound silence remained, reverent, respectful, almost sacred. Sam walked toward the nearest warrior, hands visible. As he drew closer, he could see the man was young, perhaps 25, with the lean build of a hunter. His face was serious, but not unfriendly. You're here to watch over me, Sam said. The warrior nodded gravely. Because of what I did for Ayanna and Chayton, another nod. I don't understand, I just did what anyone should do. The warrior spoke, his voice low. Not anyone. You chose to help when help was dangerous. You chose kindness when kindness was not expected. But this, Sam gestured at the circle. How many of you are there? 50. 50 men who heard the story. 50 men who came to honor you. Sam felt tears in his eyes. I don't deserve this. You do. You showed us that not all white men are enemies. You showed us there are still good people in the world. This is worth honoring. Will you be here all night? Until sunrise. We will watch. We will make sure you are safe. Safe from what? The warrior's expression darkened. Word spreads quickly. Already some of your people know you helped Lakota woman. Some will not understand. Some will be angry. And you're here to protect me? We are here to honor you. If protection is needed, then yes, but mostly we are here to show respect. What's your name? Mato, it means bear. Thank you, Mato. All of you. This means more than you know. Lakota told us about you. He said you are a man of honor. He said you shared your food when you had little, gave shelter when you could have turned away, treated Ayana with respect when she was vulnerable. She's a remarkable woman. Any decent person would have helped, but not everyone is decent. That is why we are here, to show that decency should be honored, should be protected. How can I ever repay this? You already have. You saved one of our own. You treated her as family. That is debt we can never repay. There's no debt. I did what felt right. Yes, that is what makes it so valuable. You did not help because you expected reward. You helped because your heart is good. As the night wore on, Sam moved around the circle, speaking quietly with different warriors. Some spoke English, others communicated through gestures, but all carried the same message: respect, gratitude, and acknowledgement of the power of simple human kindness. One older warrior told Sam about his daughter, helped by a white missionary when she was sick. Another spoke of a trader who dealt fairly with his tribe. Each story was a thread in a larger tapestry, a reminder that goodness existed on both sides. When dawn's first light appeared, Mato approached Sam one final time. The sun rises, we must go. I'll never forget this, nor will we. The story of Sam Mitchell will be told around our fires for generations. One by one, the warriors withdrew, disappearing into the prairie grass as silently as they had arrived. Mato was the last to leave, extending his hand in friendship. You are brother to the Lakota now. You have family, even if you do not see us. Remember that. Sam gripped his hand tightly. And if any of you ever need help, my door is always open. We know. That is why we trust you. As the final warrior disappeared into the dawn, Sam stood alone, watching the sun rise. The landscape looked the same, but everything had changed. He was no longer just a lonely rancher. He was a man who had been honored by 50 warriors, who had been reminded that kindness was the most powerful force in the world. He looked at Ayana's bracelet and smiled. She had been right. They had saved each other. And in doing so, they had proven that hope still existed, that the future might be brighter than the past. The wind whispered across the prairie as Sam stood before his cabin, watching the last warrior disappear into the morning mist. The night had been unlike anything he had ever experienced. 50 Lakota warriors standing silent vigil around his humble homestead, honoring him for a simple act of kindness. As the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and golds, Sam felt a profound transformation within himself. The loneliness that had been his constant companion for years had been replaced by something he hadn't felt in decades, a sense of belonging, of purpose, of connection to something greater than his own survival. He walked slowly around the perimeter of his property, his boots crunching on the frost-covered grass. In the soft earth, he could see the impressions left by the warriors' feet, the only physical evidence of their presence. But the impact of their vigil went far deeper than footprints in the soil. Sam paused at the spot where he had first found Ayana, crouched against the old cottonwood tree with baby Chayton in her arms. It seemed like a lifetime ago, though barely 24 hours had passed. The creek still bubbled softly. The tree still stood sentinel over the water. But the world had changed in ways both subtle and profound. He thought about the conversation with Mato, about the warrior's words. You are brother to the Lakota now. The concept seemed impossible, yet undeniably true. Through one act of compassion, he had been welcomed into a family he had never known he needed. As Sam returned to his cabin, he noticed something he hadn't seen in the moonlight. Near his door, someone had left a small bundle wrapped in deerskin. With trembling hands, he unwrapped it to find dried meat, cornmeal, and a small pouch of herbs. A note, written in careful English, was tucked inside. For Sam Mitchell, friend to the Lakota, may you never hunger. May you always remember that kindness creates kinship. Lakota. Sam felt his throat tighten with emotion. These people, who had so little themselves, had given him food when his own supplies were nearly exhausted. The gesture was both practical and deeply symbolic, a recognition that he was no longer alone in his struggle to survive on the frontier. Inside his cabin, Sam prepared a simple breakfast using some of the gifted cornmeal. As he ate, He reflected on the lessons of the past day. He had learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. He had discovered that kindness, even when it seemed small and insignificant, could ripple outward in ways he never imagined. Most importantly, he had been reminded that the divisions between people, the barriers of race, culture, and language, were often less insurmountable than they appeared. Fear and prejudice were learned behaviors, but so were compassion and understanding. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Sam opened it to find a young white man, perhaps 25, with the dusty clothes and tired eyes of someone who had ridden hard through the night. The stranger's hand rested nervously on his gun belt. "You Sam Mitchell?" the man asked, his voice tense. "I am. Name's Billy Henderson. I ride for the territorial governor. Got word you've been harboring Indians. That true?" Sam studied the young man's face, seeing fear and suspicion there, but also uncertainty. "I helped a young mother and her baby who were near death from exposure. If that's what you mean by harboring, then yes, it's true." "You know the situation out here," Henderson said. "After what happened at Little Bighorn, folks are on edge. Can't have settlers taking in hostiles." "She wasn't hostile," Sam said quietly. "She was a scared young woman trying to keep her baby alive. That's not how some people see it. There's talk of you being a traitor to your own kind." Sam felt a flash of anger, but he kept his voice level. "My kind includes anyone who needs help. I don't distinguish between white children and Indian children when it comes to suffering." Henderson shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I ain't here to arrest you or nothing. Just came to give you a warning. Some of the ranchers around here, they're not happy about what you did. They think you're encouraging the Indians to think they can come onto white land whenever they please." "And what do you think?" Sam asked. The young man hesitated. I think maybe the world's more complicated than some folks want to believe. My ma always said that helping people in need was the Christian thing to do, regardless of who they were." "Your mother sounds like a wise woman." "She was." Henderson glanced around nervously. "Look, Mr. Mitchell, I'm not here to cause trouble, but I'd be careful if I were you. Keep your head down for a while. Let things settle." "I appreciate the warning," Sam said, "but I won't apologize for doing what was right." Henderson nodded slowly. "I respect that. I surely do." He turned to go, then paused. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing, but not everyone's going to see it that way." After Henderson left, Sam sat on his porch, looking out over the prairie. The warning didn't surprise him. He had expected there would be consequences for his actions, but the night vigil had given him something precious. The knowledge that he was not alone, that there were others who believed in the power of kindness over hatred. As the day wore on, Sam went about his usual chores with renewed purpose. He tended to his cattle, mended fences, and planned for the coming planting season. But everything felt different now. He was no longer just surviving. He was living with intention, with the knowledge that his actions mattered. That evening, as he sat by his fire, Sam took out Ayana's bracelet and held it up to the light. The beadwork was intricate and beautiful, each tiny bead carefully placed by loving hands. It was a tangible reminder of the connections that bound all people together, regardless of the artificial divisions that society tried to impose. He thought about baby Chaitan, probably sleeping peacefully in his mother's arms somewhere on the vast prairie. The boy would grow up hearing the story of the white rancher who had helped them, and perhaps, just perhaps, he would carry that lesson forward into his own life. Sam understood now that the vigil hadn't just been about honoring him. It had been about hope. Hope that the future could be different from the past, that understanding could triumph over ignorance, that love could prove stronger than fear. As he prepared for bed, Sam felt a profound sense of gratitude. In trying to save Ayana and Chaitan, he had discovered something precious. The truth that in helping others we help ourselves. In showing compassion, we find purpose. In building bridges, we create the possibility of peace. The prairie wind sang its ancient song outside his window, and Sam Mitchell fell asleep with a smile on his face, knowing that he had found his place in the world at last. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but it would also bring new opportunities to choose kindness over fear, understanding over prejudice, hope over despair, and in that choice, the future would be born.